So welcome to our first ever 10 in 10 bike review. Now what we're doing with this is we're going to answer 10 questions about a motorcycle in 10 minutes. And question one for this one is, what bike have we got? Well, we've got the X-Cape from Moto Morini, not Escape, X-Cape from Moto Morini. It's an old Italian brand that's been revived recently. They're currently only doing 2 bikes. And this, which is kind of their adventure tourer bike, and then they've got another kind of cafe racer style one, which we'll probably look at in a future episode. But let's get out and ride it. Okay, so let's have a look at the specs of this bike. Honestly, nothing to really write home about. A 650, well, 649 if you want to be pedantic. It's a 2-cylinder inline, 4-stroke, of course, and it comes from the kind of CF Moto bank of engines. So yeah, everyone knows CF Moto. They make a lot of engines for a lot of different manufacturers nowadays, but it's a pretty good and pretty bulletproof engine, to be honest. I wouldn't say the engine's agricultural, but it lacks a lot of what you'd expect from a lot of bikes these days. Most reviews, if you look online and things like that, have actually said that there's no rider modes, but that's kind of true and not true. Okay, let me explain. There's 2 ride modes. There's an off-road mode and a standard riding mode. And when you change between the modes, the only difference that I can actually notice is that the graphic on the display change. However, there is one difference, because if you're in off-road mode, you can turn the ABS off, which you can't in the other mode. The bike has a cable throttle, which again these days seems pretty old school, but on the flip side, of course, this means there's a lot less to worry about. Things going wrong, it's going to be easy to repair. So I don't see that as a bad point, it's just what this bike has. This bike comes with spoked wheels, which are tubeless. Apparently you can get alloy rims as an option. I have no idea why you would, because spoked wheels look better and perform better. Brakes are good, double discs on the front, single on the rear, pretty standard, but work well, pretty confidence inspiring. I'm happy with them. So I just thought I'd stop here. Look at that view. Look at the view. I love living in Wales. I see the shop. Sorry, I digress. Let's get back to riding. Let's get back to riding bikes. The engine is pretty smooth, but it does lacks any low-end grunt at all, to be honest. There's no way you could accidentally wheelie this bike. But once you get it to about 6,500 revs, it starts to come alive a bit more, you know, and basically you just need to kind of rev the guts out of it. But once you get up there, it's not too bad. Gearbox as well is really nice and smooth when you change. It's always nice. I hate a clunky gearbox, so that's nice as well. Riding position though is just great. Both sitting and standing, it just feels pretty much spot on right from the get-go. There are 2 seat options. They've got a normal and a low. I don't know what one this is, if I'm honest. But bearing in mind, I'm not exactly the tallest person in the world, and I can get both my feet completely flat on the floor. It's probably the low seat. But yeah, it just kind of hugs you, and you could happily sit on this all day on the motorway, or spend a few hours standing on the pegs while riding some green lanes, things like that. So the bike comes with Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tyres, which are good. They're good tyres, they're good for road. You know, they'll be fine on gravel, fire roads, stuff like that. I wouldn't, you know, you'd struggle on mud and wet grass and things like that. Okay, so this bike, looks-wise, is going to be Marmite. For people outside the UK, Marmite is this weird kind of spread thing that you put on toast. It's made of yeast, I think. People either tend to love it or hate it. In fact, they did an entire kind of advertising campaign around love it or hate it. And I think that's what you're basically going to find with the styling of this bike. Personally, I actually really like it. I really like the design of it. I have been told I have weird taste in bikes by many people, especially Graham. So yeah, I wouldn't kind of take my word for it, but personally I like it. This is the smoky anthracite colourway. That's grey to you and me, but the red is the nice colour. You know, they call it the red passion, and it just looks great. It's got gold spoked rims, and it just really has a nice look to it. I think the downside, it's a bit plasticky. This is what I mean by plasticky. Rub, rub, rub. Wobble 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 wobble. Plasticky. I don't think Moto Morini are going to give me another bike after I've reviewed this one. For me, best thing about the bike for me has got to be the riding position. You know, I'm not going to go on about it again, but it hugs you really nice and tightly, holds you in position. You don't feel like you're going anywhere. You feel really kind of in touch with the bike. When you stand up on the bike, well, maybe not for other people, but certainly for me at about 5'8", 5'9", I'd love to say 5'10", but I don't think I am. It just feels, it's a great standing position. Everything feels right, everything feels in the right place. Worst thing about the bike, I hate to say it, but it's probably the engine. I need more low-end grunt. I need more. That said, I am kind of getting used to it. I'm getting used to how I need to rev a bit more just to kind of find that grunt. I keep looking at it as an adventure bike, and really I should be looking at it as an adventure touring bike. And as a touring bike, this engine is absolutely fine. Okay, so what would I wear riding this bike? I mean, it's an adventure bike, so you want adventure gear, really. Also something nice and waterproof, because this is going to be able to do some real long miles. You know, you could sit on this bike for hours and hours and hours. Plus, you know, this is a value for money bike in many ways. So I think that you kind of want to look at the same thing. It's kind of clothing that's good quality and good value. I personally would probably go for the Merlin Drifter jacket. It's quite lightweight, waterproof. Scorpion do a adventure flip helmet with a peak called the Scorpion ADX2, I think it is. And then probably the best value adventure riding boots is the former Adventure Dry boots. If you're interested though, we'll do some kit reviews about those over on the new Woodrow's Review channel, YouTube channel. Okay, so the big one, how does this make you feel? How does this make me feel? You know what, that's the problem. I don't love it, I don't hate it, I have no strong feelings towards this bike either way. It's the styling, because it's got this cool aggressive styling which kind of reminds you of the Ducati Multistrada look. When I saw it, I got on it and I expected that kind of oomph you get from the Ducati, and it can't live up to that because it doesn't have the same engine or anything like that, but because it's got that styling, that's kind of what I was expecting. Similar to Suzuki V-Strom, the 1050 XT 1050. The styling got me really excited. It had that really classic rally style, and then you got on it and it was just bland. It couldn't live up to the stylings. I think this kind of falls slightly into the same trap. I don't hate it, I don't love it, it's just, yeah, there. So at £1 under £7,500, it's actually pretty good value. No, it's actually excellent value, to be honest. It's, you know, a reliable 650 engine, a great TFT screen, Pirelli tyres. All in all, it's actually a really good spec for the price, and not much else can touch it at the moment. Okay, so adopting Graham's, would I have one in my garage? Now this is why I'm actually going to contradict everything I've just said. If I only had between 7 and 8 grand to spend on an adventure bike, what are my other options? The V-Strom 650? That's 500 quid more, and I just don't like it particularly. I don't like the styling. You've got the Yamaha T700, which is awesome, but that's a 10 grand bike. Royal Enfield Himalayan is 2 grand cheaper, but it's a much smaller engine and nowhere near as comfortable if you're going to do long road journeys or anything like that. So yeah, actually, for that kind of price range, yes, you know what, yes. Despite everything I've just said, I would totally have one of these in my garage. And the more I'm riding it, the more I'm starting to enjoy it, and it's starting to have a little bit of a personality. I don't think I have it long enough for me to kind of fall in love with it, but certainly it's grown on me. And yes, yes, I think I would have one.